Welcome to this podcast series. I'm starting over. I just came in class. Yes, absolutely. Hi, Oak Grove. Welcome to this episode in our Lenten podcast series where we are focusing on centering youth voices and hearing what they have to say about hope. My name is Hanna Cain. I'm the youth ministry assistant here at Oak Grove, and I am with the wonderful Reese Vaughan, who is a senior at Lakeside and is a part of our youth leadership team and is just an awesome human being in general. Today we're talking about Lent because we're in the Lenten season, and Lent is a time of 40 days of preparation for the Easter and resurrection. And so as we center ourselves and recenter in these weeks, I think it's a great practice for us to hear what others have to say and engage in a practice of listening. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Reese. And first, just tell us a little bit about who you are and why you're here at Oak Grove.
Yes, I'm Reese. I've been at Oak Grove since around 5th grade. So 7 years, and my entire family, including my sister, mom and dad, my mom's parents, and my grandparents, we all come to Oak Grove and we love it. And we sing in the choir and are involved in youth and play in the orchestra, me and my sister. So super involved in the church and love every second here.
Yeah, the Vaughans, we kind of make a joke in the youth ministry that we have some church mice, which are youth who are around here a lot. Reese is one of those guys. So we love having Reese and all he does for us. But today's topic is mission. And mission is the work and dreams and aims of God and the work that God is doing in the world. So we get to participate in that work through missions work. And that looks like a lot of different things that you can do personally or with the church. And regardless of why we choose to be a part of God's mission, I think the large goal that we should be reaching for is being in relation with one another. I think that's at the heart of mission. So I'm curious, why is mission important to you, Reese?
Yeah, I like what you said. I think doing mission work specifically brings you as like the person doing it and this community at Oak Grove closer together. For example, like on a Wednesday night when we're packing blessing bags, that's a great example of creating community through mission work and growing closer together.
Yeah, blessing bags is a wonderful way and a very intergenerational way for anyone in the church to want to get involved with mission. It's a easy 1 hour thing you can do on Wednesday nights after midweek. And yeah, it's wonderful. So I'm glad you like that.
Yeah, and blessing bags is we're packing food for kids at Montclair Elementary who might need assistance over the weekend. So you know that you're making a big impact on their lives, which is really special.
Yeah, absolutely. What are some ways specifically in youth that you've been involved in mission in the past few years?
I guess now every summer we're going to Hinton Rural Life Center, where we get to spend a week helping people in that community and also growing closer as a youth group. So this past summer, I think it was about 12 of us, which is a small group, but you really get to grow close together and become really good friends. And we went to Hinton. We spent a day chopping firewood, which was amazing. I mean, you're working huge machines, chopping blocks, 3 feet wide, which that's just pretty awesome. And then we spent a couple days helping build a ramp for a guy and his wife who had recently been in the hospital. And you could see in his face and just, you knew that it was going to be have such an impact on his life and be so like transformative on just their access to get into their home after what had happened to his wife and her needing a wheelchair. So that was super special. And it's also a great opportunity for like me being one of the older students in the youth. And I get to help some of the younger people in the youth group become proficient with drills and help them grow their confidence in ways that they can serve other people so that they, once they're my age, then can continue that strand of just helping the next person.
Yeah, I love that. I love you touched on relationality within our group, and you also touched on relationships with the people that we're serving. Something that's really cool about Hinton Rural Life Center is that it really focuses on kind of the reciprocal relationship with the people in rural Appalachia. So it's not that we're just going to serve whoever, but that they're also serving us and that we're learning parts about God through them as well. And that really came through. And yeah, the guy we served was incredible. So I love that. So it's become a core value for youth. It's one of our values that we defined for this year. But why for you do you think it's important when we look to scripture? Why would you say, like, yeah, Christians should do mission?
I kind of like to think about it as there's a little bit of God in every single human, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're loving your neighbor and helping every single person that you see in any small way that you can, in a sense, by doing that, you're loving God, which is, the first commandment.
Mm-hmm.
So I see it as almost essential for having a connection or a relationship with God is you must have connection and relationships with other humans. And a great way to do that is through service.
Absolutely. We are all made in the image of Christ. Mm-hmm. So, yes. I love that that's at the center of your theology. That's incredible. So I know you've also been involved in Trinity Community Ministries, which is a residential homeless shelter, which is in the Sweet Auburn district of Atlanta. And we take about 10-ish high schoolers and 8th graders every month. We cook a meal here in our youth kitchen and go in a bus and have a meal with the men who are living there. And so we sit there and have dinner and are just talking and enjoying one another. And I think there's a lot of cool learning experiences that have come from that. So do you want to talk a little bit about your experience there, Reese?
Yeah, absolutely. I see Trinity as like they're people that are so close to our own community, but kind of cut off. And then when you talk to them and see that, hey, one guy went to Tucker High School or another guy ran track against Lakeside.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see their journey through life and how kind of they've been left out of a lot of the experiences that I've had, which I think that's a pretty powerful perspective that you gain through going to Trinity.
Yeah, that's a really powerful story, and I've had similar experiences there as well. So I'm curious, what do you do with that? Now that you've realized, like, yeah, these guys are kind of similar to me, what's the next step there?
Yeah, I think right now, as I'm looking to, college and eventually a career, I kind of see it as one aspect of that I need to be mindful of when I'm looking about how am I going to have an effect on the world?
Mm-hmm.
How can I live a life that creates a world that invites everybody to fully participate in our society?
Yeah.
So if I become a civil engineer, how could I, build a road that's equitable to everybody?
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting that the Sweet Auburn district is such a powerful example of that, seeing the interstate cut directly through the district.
Yeah.
And knowing that engineers had a very big impact on that community. So being able to have that knowledge now and understand kind of the impact of some of the things that I hopefully will get to have input on later in life.
Yeah, I love that. You're thinking long term, you're thinking big. That's great.
Yeah.
I think mission can be individual experiences of,
Mhm.
we pack a blessing bag one time on a Wednesday, and that is amazing, good work. And then there's also ways that we can incorporate mission into all of our vocations. So for you, that's civil engineering. Amazing. Anyone watching, whatever you do in your life, you could also incorporate mission in any way that you see fit. Um, Imagination goes a little bit in there, and talking to people that are different than you goes into that. So I encourage you to think about, how can I approach my career or my vocation with a missional perspective? That's really great, Reese. Thank you. And then there's also ways to get involved here at Oak Grove. And so there's lots of ways to get connected. We've talked about blessing bags on Wednesday nights. There's actually just a lot of food ministry opportunities here. She was telling me yesterday, she said, we've done really good work with food. So there's definitely a lot of different, we even have a meal team that will send a meal to someone within our own congregation, which is great. So if that's something you're interested in, reach out to Pastor Melissa. What are some ways that you think about, not just in youth group, but big Oak Grove Church stuff that maybe your family has done together, or just good memories you've had?
First thing that comes to mind when you say whole family is Feed My Starving Children, which I'm sure a lot of people in the church and our community can relate to and remember. I think the fun of packing, and also seeing that our community has packs about over 100,000 meals per year is, I mean, that's pretty amazing.
That is amazing.
As a family, we've really enjoyed doing that every year. And hopefully this year, after going to college, I'll be able to come back and do that this August with the rest of my family.
That would be sweet. I'm sure that they would love that. So bringing it back to hope, because that's our theme. When I think about mission and I think about hope, I lean on to these personal experiences that we've each had when doing mission work. And for me, I think Trinity is another place where mission just hits me in my heart. We had a student this last beach retreat who went to Trinity the first time, like the week before we went on beach retreat, and had a good time, but was kind of timid. And then while we're at the beach, he picks up a shell and he's like, oh, this shell, I think the person that I spoke to at Trinity would really want the shell. And so he brought it back with him, and he took it the next month. And it was that kind of relation of, hey, I was thinking of you while I was on a youth beach retreat. It was really special. And, they ask about how was our concerts and soccer games and all of those things too. And so really just finding love and finding community within mission, and not just viewing mission as something to just check off your to-do list of, I did a good thing today, but really feeling the love of other people in mission gives me hope in a world that can kind of be cynical sometimes. So Reese, tell me where you're seeing hope. What do you hope for mission in the future?
I see hope kind of when you're going home from a mission, or when you finished your task and you look back, and I kind of imagine this one act, how many more good acts will come of this? One meal for somebody might mean that person is then going to go and give somebody else 5 meals, or building this deck for, one person might mean that they're able to host, 10 other people in their home. So I see, kind of like a butterfly effect, like when we're seeing these blessing bags go out in the weekend, that kid is going to get a meal to eat, and then, grow up and see, hey, I got these meals. How can I help another person? And then how can I help another person?
Yeah.
So I think every small or big act of mission and kindness and love that we can do can, is hope that, hey, that's going to be multiplied. We sing songs about this, God kind of promises that our acts of kindness will be multiplied, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, it's kind of like the ripple effect of throwing a pebble into the ocean and seeing all the layers continue and continue and continue. And if everyone's throwing a pebble in, eventually they'll all intercede, and that's a cool visual for me. So yeah, absolutely. Well, Reese, thank you so much for joining us for this Lenten series. We've really appreciated having you.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. As we're in the Lenten season and looking forward to Holy Week, I want to remind you that we have a Maundy Thursday service and a Good Friday service and a sunrise service and an 8:30 and a 10:45 and 11 service on Easter morning. So we hope to see you there, and peace.